As we're getting ready to talk specifically about dating tonight, I kind of went back to my earliest memory of like where I first heard about like dating, like that transitional period from like cooties to like not cooties, right? So for me, it went like all the way back to first grade on the swing set. And so I wanted to kind of see if you guys grew up the way that I grew up. I checked with Macy, my second grader, and she still was vibing with this. So let me see if you guys can kind of fill in the blanks for me if you know this song. Okay, it goes like this. Matt and Amanda sitting in a tree. K-I-S-S-I-T. Okay, what comes next? Yeah, some of you guys have some. You almost went into the second verses, and you're like, "Those are naughty. I'm not gonna sing those verses." That's where the bad stuff comes in. See, I almost got you 2 weeks in a row cussing to songs in church. Okay, I'm not gonna do that. But that's kind of the very first concept where we're kind of shown how it works, right? First comes love, then comes marriage, then comes the baby in the baby carriage. But then we grow up and we're like, that's not how it works at all, right? Sometimes it's like, first comes baby, whoops. Then, I don't know, because I don't really know you, but I guess we should get married. And if we work really hard on it, maybe love. Sometimes it's like, first comes, we think love, then comes baby, because we were already living together, it was inevitable. And then, we'll do the right thing, let's stay together for the kids. We can get all of that stuff in all kinds of wrong order. And so let me kind of lay the groundwork for tonight on kind of what I believe is kind of God's order for dating, relationships, all that kind of stuff. I would say it starts with singleness. Step number one is singleness. You guys are probably already knowing that, but here's where I so badly wanted to go off on an entire different message tonight, all about singleness, because many of us are not single. Many of us are broken. We're not even one in and of ourselves, and we think that we're ready to date, but we don't even know us. We're completely broken people. You guys know the stats. Stats say that 50% of all marriages end in divorce, and what the sad part is that stat doesn't change whether you're inside or outside of the church. That the Christian divorce, the quote-unquote Christian divorce rate is just as high as the world's divorce rate. And I would say that it's not so much marriage issues as much as it is singleness issues. That we never really did that portion of life right, and therefore we weren't able to do marriage right. Let me kind of read this verse to show you what I'm talking about. Matthew 22, 37 through 40 says it like this. Jesus said, all right, let me kind of give you backdrop. They're trying to pin Jesus, and they're trying to stump him with all these tricky questions. They're going through all these different scenarios and trying to get him to mess up, trying to get him to come against what he's already said about himself, trying to trip him up, get him to lie, get him to second guess himself, get him to say something that's contradictory. And they ask him, what's the greatest commandment? And this is his response. He says, love the Lord your God with all your passion and prayer and intelligence. I'm reading out of the Message translation, which is kind of like a paraphrase of the Bible. I want you to love the Lord your God with all your passion, with all your prayer, and all your intelligence. And we could just pause right there and just do a whole lesson just on that. How are you doing with loving God with all of your passion, all of your prayer, and all of your intelligence? Like how much of your mental, think about how hard you try to get A's, then think about how hard you try to learn your Bible, and do the two match up, okay? But I gotta move on because that's a separate message. It says this is the most important, the first on any list, but there's a second to set alongside it. And he says, you guys know this, love others as well as you love yourself. These two commands are pegs. Everything in God's law and the prophets hangs from them. And so he basically says, what's the greatest commandment? There's not one, there's two. First one is love me with everything you have. With everything you have. And I shared this last week, but I want to share it again. There's nothing that there's a lot of things that frustrate me. One of the things that frustrates me a lot is when I watch people in God's presence with a meh attitude. And the sad part is it's even worse since we've been in this room, if I'm being completely transparent, because now some of you guys are on camera talking to each other when you're supposed to be focusing on God. It gets super awkward because they're like, we're trying to show what God's doing in this place, and you're just cracking jokes down the line, and God's trying to connect with your heart, and you're giving him zero of your passion. You're not even giving him the leftovers. You're just not giving him anything. You're standing up God. Like he's here to have an encounter. He's here to have a moment. Call it a date, call it an encounter, call it a special time, whatever you want to call it, but he's here to meet with you and to work on your heart. And so again, we've gotten one sentence in and we could just stop right there, but he says the second thing along is right alongside it. It's not just one, it's two, and they're equally important, is that you have to love others the way that you love yourselves. And we've always taken that with the love others part. Like, man, we need to love God. You might have heard this. Love God, love people, love life. That's the entirety of the gospel. But there's one super important part in the middle of that we need to get before we can even do the love God and love others part, is as we have to love others as we love ourselves. And so I guess the question that I would ask is, how much do you love yourself? How much do you even know yourself? And how much do you love yourself? And do you like yourself? And how much are you working on yourself? And so when I say the first step is singleness, that's not something just as like an obvious prerequisite, because many of us go into our dating relationships as broken, fractured people, expecting the other one to make us whole. But that's not God's math. God doesn't take fraction to equal one whole. God takes two complete individuals, single people, and he brings them together to make them one flesh. And kind of a superpower flesh, because that's the way God works. 3 in 1, God, 3 pieces of God, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, in one entire being. So good that to make it make sense to our brains, they had to kind of explain it as a Father, as a Son, Jesus, as a Holy Spirit inside of us. That he's so good when he's one, it's so amazing, it's so powerful, and that's what God wants for us. He wants 2 single people to come together to be one flesh. But we don't do that. We come as broken individuals and hope that they'll complete us, but they never will. And so again, I don't want to just completely like scan over, are you single? How are you doing with your singleness? And kind of combine everything we talked about last week with everything, the place that he has you and the purposes that he has for you, the identity he wants to establish inside of you, the provision, the parameters that he wants to give you, everything that he wants to give you before he brings in that person. How are we doing with that? A lot of times we don't even ask that question. We don't ask, God, am I ready to date? Because that's a scary question. I don't know if you've ever prayed scary prayers. I hope that all of you do. I hope all of you pray the kind of prayers that allow God into the secret places of your heart to challenge you, to inspire you to be everything that God's called you to be. Have you asked God, am I ready to date? And I'll answer that for you in a second, but I'll get there later. But the first step is singleness. The second step is intentional dating. Please don't glance over the descriptive word intentional dating. Not just dating just because, not just kind of falling into dating. I was thinking about my own life and how stupid I was pre-Jesus. I had a girlfriend in high school, and I don't remember asking her out. Like, how dumb is that? But don't laugh too hard, because you're in that too. You're like, wait a second. I'm in a relationship, and he never asked me out. You just kind of like happened. Like, you know what I'm talking about? Like you're at a party, you're in a car with a group of people. Next thing you know, you're just talking to someone, and now you're official. And neither one of you had a say in it. And so intentional dating is the second part, and that's kind of what we're going to kind of focus on tonight, is that intentional dating portion of it. Then after that comes the engagement portion of it. We skip this. Again, if you grew up in church or have godly parents or anything like that, this is all pretty obvious, but this is not at all how the world does it. We tend to do haphazard dating, eventually cohabitating, somewhere in the mix of that process, babies and whoopses, and then it gets kind of messier from there. But it should go single, intentional dating, engagement, then marriage, okay? Then love. There we go. Welcome back, everyone who was already distracted. Cool, welcome back to the party. Yes, love comes right there. And you're like, nuh-uh, because I already love the one I'm with, and we're not even engaged yet. In fact, I didn't even have to ask her out, but I already love her, so nanner. Wrong, okay? Love comes here in the way that it was kind of framed up for me, and I love how this says. So just think about this question. Those of you, how many of you guys love Jesus? You have a relationship with him, all that. It's great. Let me ask you this. How much did you love God before he was your Lord and Savior? Right? Not very much. Some of you guys were enemies of God, and then what happened? He got a hold of your heart. You opened him into your life, And then you began to discover how good he is. And then in response to his goodness, you began to love him more and more back, right? Because true love, not I love Taco Bell and I love you, like the true commitment, sacrificial, selfless kind of love, it takes commitment, it takes a lot of sacrifice, it takes a lot of denying yourself, it takes a lot of overlooking evil and guilt, it takes looking past all the mistakes and all the faults. It takes a whole lot of looking past, surrendering to God, and selfless love. And when two people do that are completely selfless, you both benefit from 100% attention and affection and love. But we don't do that. We kind of do a match. Like, I give 2%, let's see if you throw in 2% too. It's like a poker game. Here's the bet, I raise you 3%. I call, you bluff, I don't have anything to give. And you want to just kind of match, and see how much you give, and maybe 50-50. But that's not what God's called us to. God's called us to 100% love because he loved us while we were still sinners. How much did you give back before Jesus got up on a cross? 0. Absolutely nothing. Yet he gave everything because he loves you that much. So I would suggest to you that you don't even begin to know what true love is until you're in a covenant relationship with one person through marriage, okay? After that, after love comes children. After love comes children. You know, for most of us, for a lot of us, that's the eventual goal. And the goal is to bring children into the world out of the overflow of love for one another, not from the dysfunction from one another, not to fix our current marital problems one another. Okay, so you got to realize tonight, I'm speaking to you tonight a lot, but I'm also speaking to your future marriage. I've seen too many of my friends have a bad marriage, and so they think a kid's gonna fix it. Kid doesn't fix it, and so they have more kids, and then just life goes on. The stat that's so crazy is that people in their 40s and 50s, the divorce rate for people in their 40s and 50s are increasing at an alarming rate. Because, let me kind of give you the next step after, all of that, singleness, intentional dating, engagement, marriage, love, children, then you have to repeat all of that. See, what happens with the people in their 40s and 50s that are getting divorced is they're not repeating any of that. You have to go back. Just because you're married doesn't mean you get to stop improving your singleness. And it doesn't mean you get to stop intentionally dating your spouse. And it doesn't mean that you get to stop having engagement moments with your spouse. And that you can continue to be in covenant every single day. That anniversaries mean something. That your kids, that they're the overflow of your love. But most people stop there. And what happens is the reason why people in their 40s and 50s are getting divorced is because their God moves out of the house and goes to college. Right, there's some of you guys, I won't make you raise your hands, but if the stats are true, half the room has parents who are divorced or were never married in the first place or are married, but it's just for your sake. And how's that working out? Like, if you're being really honest, they say they're staying together, for the kids, but you're in the midst of the drama. They think that you don't hear them arguing in their room, right? And they don't think that you can feel all the tension going on in the home. And they might not be divorced, but they're still broken because they haven't worked on all that stuff. And you have to constantly work on this stuff and repeat and repeat and repeat. And just look how much the room has changed just by saying that word divorce, just by peeking in for one moment into your home life. You see, that's why tonight is so important, because so many of us are just jumping into dating relationships haphazardly, and we're not thinking about the results that come in. We're not pausing and thinking, man, maybe the world isn't giving us the best model. Maybe there's a better way. And so we get into all this stuff. And so let me kind of show you this. Hosea chapter 4, verse 6. God says this, "My people are ruined because they don't know what's right and they don't know what's true." See, the truth is we just don't know how. We learned the little nursery rhyme in first grade and then nothing ever changed. and we see the world around us and we watch the movies and we see the celebrity couples and we think like that's how it's supposed to be. And maybe you come from a broken home and so you don't really have a model at home, and so that's your next best option. You see all the people in school and you see them in relationships. You see all the pressure to date. You see all the pressure to be with someone, all the pressure to not be alone, to find that person. But maybe, just maybe, that's not the best plan. And so if you're taking notes tonight, and side note, I hope you take notes. I hope you get your phones out. I put a lot of the notes on the back wall so you guys can at least take pictures of them, have the verses to look up later. If God kind of speaks something to you, because here's the deal. I've got notes, and sometimes God says additional things, but sometimes God will say stuff directly to you. And so that's why I don't make you guys, put your phones away or checking your phones. I know other youth pastors that make people turn cell phones in at the door, and people have all different kind of viewpoints on that. I want you to use your phone for good. I want you to download the YouVersion app. I want you looking up scriptures. I want you taking notes. I want you to not think for a second, I'm dumb enough to think that you're not on social media right now or playing Fortnite, okay? Like, I'm not gonna police you because I'm gonna treat you like adults. So if you think you're fooling me or like one-upping me because I don't see your face down and glowing, you're not fooling me. I just pity you. Like, I'm not gonna pause what I'm doing and what God's wanting to do in these people to like come after you. So like that's your choice. But what I'm saying is like, I want the best for you. So I want you to take notes tonight, okay? So if you're taking notes, title of tonight's message is Myths About Dating, okay? Myths about dating. And let me kind of jump right in with dating myth number one is dating is biblical. Dating is biblical. It's a myth. Dating is not biblical. There's nowhere in the Bible are you going to read the dating chapter of the New Testament. It's not there. And maybe some of you grew up in Christian's home. You're like, yeah, I know where he's going with this. Dating's not biblical, but courtship is. Some of you guys have no clue what courtship is. I want to kind of break it down for you, but the whole concept of dating isn't that old, okay? In fact, it's only a couple hundred years old. Before that, a lot of it was done by the parents, kind of selection, which as a parent, I'm telling you, would be a much better way, okay? Like if I could just kind of go back to that, kind of families would get to know families and you would be betrothed. I betroth you to him and you guys are gonna get married because I like them and they got money. Or they're like, that family's good looking, or like they're in this field, and a lot of it would be the say-so of the parents. And then it got into this point where people wanted to start kind of making their own choices. And then they kind of came up with this world called courtship, which is basically dating, but it's kind of contractual. You kind of go into this thing with like, my intention is to marry you. I feel like you should kind of talk in King James if you're going to court someone. And you kind of, I declare on this day, on the 2018th year of the Lord's day, that I betroth thee to you, that in 10th year of our love, we will be one in holy matrimony, and we will do this in the sight of our parents together. And like code language is like you basically date, but your parents are there the whole time, okay? Which like, there's some good to that. Like I'm not, I don't want to please don't tell your parents, like I don't want to get the hate email, like just spare me that. But there's good and bad with all of it. There's good with dating, there's good with courtship, there's bad with both sides and all that kind of stuff. But it's kind of hard to like really get to know someone with like mom and dad around, what I'm talking about? Like, you guys are like all eating dinner together and you're like, hey, so what do you want to do with your life? And you're like, man, can you pass the potatoes, please? Thank you very much. Like, that's kind of hard. And so they kind of morphed into dating. And in fact, when girls started first going on dates, they were considered prostitutes. Like that was how like taboo it was. They're like, you're letting a guy pay to spend time with you. You know that's what prostitutes do, right? Like, you lady of the night, how dare you? It was this like shameful thing, right? And fast forward, and that's now what everyone does. And so it's kind of just a weird world that we live in. But you need to know that like dating, courtship, all that stuff, that like there's not a biblical model. What the Bible gives is a whole lot of how to treat each other, how to love God, how to be a husband, how to be a wife, how to submit, how to lead, how to be humble, the characteristics of just being a good person. And there's so much that you can take from and apply to your dating life, but there's no like, here's what you should do. You should get on one knee to do an engagement. The guy should always pay, although there's some good guidelines, but there's no biblical model for dating. Second dating myth is that dating is wrong. Some of your parents wholeheartedly believe that dating is wrong. A lot of you guys think that my personal belief is that dating is wrong. I only 99% believe that dating is wrong in high school. And I 100% believe that the way that America dates is just all wrong. Dating is not wrong. Dating is wrong is a myth. Dating is not wrong if, all caps, if God is in the middle of it. If God is in the middle of it. If you are successful in your singleness, and you intentionally date, and God is already all up in the middle of your life and theirs, if all of those things, then dating can be a good thing. But here's the deal. Way too many of us are just praying jacked up prayers. Like, I've done it. Most of us have done it. You're basically praying that God would bless your mess, right? Like, you're just in a jacked up relationship. You're in over your head. You knew you shouldn't have done it in the first place. No one agreed with it. Your friends don't even like that person, and now you're there, and you're like, God, would you just bless this? I know they're the one. I know they're ruining everything in my life. God, but would you just bless what I'm doing? Because I just want to save face, right? Like, there's just too many of us doing that. I also kind of said like this. Some of us, we hyper-spiritualize it. I would say it like this. We tend to kind of focus on... we find whatever we're focusing on is how I would say. We tend to find whatever we're focusing on. I was trying to think of an analogy that would work in the high school context. I couldn't really think of one offhand, but the first one I thought of is this. Is my first time buying like a nice car, like first time like I went into a car dealership, signed the payments, like it's my car. I had a Nissan Pathfinder. And before that day, never really saw Nissan Pathfinders, just saw cars driving down the road. But I bought that Nissan Pathfinder, and what do you think happened after I bought that Nissan Pathfinder? I saw Nissan Pathfinders everywhere I went. I saw all kinds of Nissans, and I would see Pathfinders everywhere, okay? And we kind of treat it that same way. It's like we think that we have like this like double-headed coin, right? Like one side heads, other side heads. God, if this person's the one for me, it'll be heads. Hey, what do you know? Heads. Didn't even have to look, right? And then we're like, we set the deck. And what I mean by that is this: is like you got the hots for someone, right? They just making your skin do funny things, and you're all up in the love bubble, and like every time they walk into a room, music plays in your head, and like all this stuff's happening. And you're like, God, if they're the one, I know they're already looking at me, but if I open my eyes, they're still looking at me. Like I know they're for me. They're right there. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Like I knew it. I knew you had the one for me, right? Like we hyper-spiritualize this. God, they're sitting next to me, and if they're still sitting next to me before the end of the night, like we put all these conditions on it that aren't really conditions, right? The truth is your heart is already infatuated with that person, and you're going to pray jacked up prayers that are trying to get God to bless that mess. We don't ask long before we're dating, God, who's the kind of person you want me to marry? God, what do you want to do with my life? Maybe you've got big dreams, you got big visions, like, you've got an Atlanta family, but you've got California dreams, right? Like, you want to get famous, move to Hollywood, like, do that life. And then you meet someone, and you're in the love bubble, but you find out, like, they got 15 brothers and sisters, and they all got cousins, and, like, there's generations, and they're all in Atlanta, and they're never leaving Atlanta. Like, what are you going to do? Are you just going to figure it out as you go? Or, like, long before, you're like, God, I really feel like you've called me to be a missionary and to travel and see the world. And so, God, I need you to bring someone in my life that is along for that ride. I need someone in my life that also wants that doesn't need to have local roots, that's willing to pick up and go wherever you lead us. That way, when you see someone and they're like, nope, I'm never leaving my hometown, cool, check, next, moving on. You don't have to go through the heartache. You don't have to go through any of the hardship or all the pain. You know because you've already got what you want. See, that's why singleness is so important. I didn't come to love Amanda. That sounds jacked up. I'll make sense of it. I didn't come to love Amanda. I recognized Amanda because I had been praying for her for years, long before we met. I know, isn't that awesome? See how easy it is to that's not rocket science. Take out your phone, start a list, must-haves and would like tos, okay? Must-haves, love Jesus before I meet them. and not just to show up to church because I begged them to, right? I'll get into more of the list later. You're gonna get some of my list. You're gonna get some of my list. Don't you worry. But yeah, we tend to find whatever we're focusing on. I heard someone say it like this. I thought it was so cool. Is that we should treat dating like a second interview. I don't know if any of you have ever had a grown-up job. Probably most of us haven't. But maybe you go to a good restaurant and like your first interview is with like the shift lead, and then they like you, and so you get to meet the general manager, right? Like you get to meet the secondary person. We should be treating dating like the second interview. But too many of us, we just let super unqualified people walk in the door and get second, third, fourth, fifth interviews. They're completely unqualified, and they have no position holding that position in your life. You see, you should already know the first interview because you should already have the job description for your future spouse. You should already know the requirements. You should already have it all laid out. When you see them, you're like, nope, clearly, you're good looking, but that's gonna fade, let me tell you, that, and you look at that, and you're like, no second interview, thanks for putting in your application, but you don't meet the requirements, okay? For me, one of the must-haves was no drama. Because, man, I just saw drama all around, girl drama, just someone looked at you and they had an eyelash in their eye and you thought they gave you the stank eye and now you can't stand that person. And now it's your friends against their friends. And just drama. And they'd be all friendly to each other. And then when they weren't around each other, I would hear them talking about each other. I was like, I can't have that in my life. I just can't. And fortunately, I got to watch the applicant for a long time before Amanda and I ever dated. And I saw opportunities for her to create drama, and I saw her resist drama, right? Again, going back to, I recognized her. I needed a woman who discipled other women. I wanted someone who was selfless, that wanted to make other people better because I knew the call God had on my life. Imagine how awkward it would be if I knew the calling to be a pastor on my life, but I married the most selfish person on earth, right? And the only person I could pastor was to meet their needs every single day of their life. And they were super needy and super clingy and had all these demands and hated other people and caused drama. That'd be so awkward. But we don't do that. We don't even get past, they smiled at me. Done, come on in. Welcome to the family, let's go. We let people so far past all the screening processes that we should have in our life. Okay, let me kind of show you this verse. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 31 says this, so whether you eat or drink, or whatever you do it all for the glory of God. So whether you eat or drink or whatever you do it all for the glory of God. Again, they're going through basically the same scenario. Paul's he's addressing the church in Corinth, and they're going through all this drama. Some people are you have to eat meat, or you have to not eat meat. And I'm not going to take all the time to explain that, but that was a very first century, very big deal on the sacrifices and staying holy and staying kosher and staying Jewish and all that kind of good stuff. But people are making a big deal about this. And then people are no, the law has gone away. We have grace now. We get to do whatever we want. And that's where the verse comes in yeah, you can do anything you want, but is it good? You can do whatever you want, but is it beneficial? And they're going back and forth on no, you've got to do Christianity this way. And they're no, you have to do Christianity this way. And he sums it up. He's y'all shut up. This is just stupid. Drama. Whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, glorify God as you're doing it. So whether you're dating, whether you're not dating, whatever you do it to glorify God. So now let's put some application to that. When it comes to your dating life, is your relationship glorifying God? Is you and that person together showing Jesus or showing someone else, or showing a different kind of spiritual influence? Who is your dating relationship glorifying? I said it like this: who you date and how you date should be bringing glory to God. Some examples, right? The girl who likes the bad boy, right? You fell in love with him, he's edgy, he's the bad boy, you like that, and you start dating, and he's still the bad boy. And now you're mad at him for doing bad boy things. How you date should be glorifying God. Or the guy the super duper jealous guy, right? Like not just the jealous guy, the super duper duper jealous guy, you know what I'm talking about? Like he went after her because she was wearing a short skirt, and she likes wearing short skirts, and everyone else likes it. She's wearing short skirts. And then he goes out with her, and he gets super jealous because she wears short skirts, right? Like she seduced him with showing all her goodies and flirting, and it worked. And she kept showing her goodies and flirting, and now he's mad about it. And he tries to like keep her hidden in a room. Like, no, don't talk to anyone. You had the same class with another guy? What? We're through, right? Like it's just super duper duper jealous guy, right? How is that glorifying God? Right, like how are we doing with that? Or the super duper love bubble couple, right? Have you lost a friend and you're still concerned they're in the underworld, right? You know what I'm talking about? Like you're still in kind of justice for Barb mode. You're like, where'd they go? They were at the pool party, then they dated someone, and now they're gone. I haven't seen them since freshman year. I heard they're broke because she's super high maintenance, right? And they just completely disappear, you know what I'm talking about? Like, how's the love bubble couple doing glorifying God? Or they just disappear, everything they do is in darkness. They don't have any friends anymore. They're spending all their money on each other. You know, they spend, here's how you know when you're the love bubble couple, is if and when, mostly when, you guys break up, it takes longer for you to erase all the pictures you took together than the entirety of your relationship. You know what I'm talking about? Like those kind of couples, you know what I'm talking about? Like, have you seen this? Where like their Instagram just hits reset, like they wish there was just like a reset button. You're like, whoops, my bad. The 15,382 pictures that we took together over the last 2 weeks, like whoops. Maybe, just maybe. Oh, don't clap too hard, it's some of y'all. It's some of y'all. We talked about this last week. And I think we'll do this. In 2 weeks, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna live stream the Capitol's Instagram feed and just kind of let y'all see how we're all doing with all this stuff, right? Like, I'm playing, but I'm not, but I might not be. So you got 2 weeks to basically block us, unfollow us, all that's fine, good and fine. Like, we have already seen it all, okay? And we already gave plenty of you flack last week for it, but I need to move on. I would just say it like this, like your dating life should inspire others to want a relationship with Jesus. Like your relationship with them should be so like Jesus loves us that should spark a question of like, man, what's so different about how they do things? Because I see all this craziness and then I see them. Whatever they're doing, I want to know what that's all about. Like a healthy dating relationship should be the easiest evangelism tool that we have. Like people should be lining up for us. Like, please, how are you doing this? How is your relationship so much better? I've tried 52 different people in my high school career, but how are you doing that? Like, I need to know. And it should be a wide open conversation that you're able to have, okay? So the question is obviously like, how are you doing with that? How's your relationship? How's your singleness glorifying God, or how's your dating life glorifying God? Moving on, date myth number 3. Dating is a destination. You're like, man, I'm alone. If I could just date, I have arrived, right? Dating is not a destination. Dating is transportation, okay? And I'll kind of make sense of that. This is one of the reasons I am almost always against dating in high school, okay? And here's why, okay? Let me say you're the 2 most godly, perfect people in the world. And let's even give you the benefit of the doubt that you found the right person, okay? They're like, yeah, like this could be something that makes it the long haul. You eventually get married, but you're 14. Like you can't even get a job, right? Like you've got this infinite future with this person, but you don't even know if you're gonna go to college yet, right? Like just think about this for a moment, okay? Like if I went into my marriage and just one day, like 3 years in, I go to Amanda and I was like, hey, just so you know, like in a couple years, I might drop 30 or 40 G's, okay? Like, just so you know. Not really sure yet, but like, I'm just thinking about it. Amanda would slap me silly on the spot, as she should, right? Like, what do you mean you might take me into debt with you? Like, what are you talking about, right? And so again, I'm not against you finding the right person or wanting God's best for your love life, any of that. I'm just saying you haven't worked enough on you to be able to even answer that question, okay? So when I say dating is not a destination, it's transportation. Dating should be the vehicle that takes you to engagement, which takes you to marriage, okay? That's the goal for a godly relationship, okay? So if you're 14, 15, 16, and you want to be a doctor, right? You're going to be dating for a long time, right? Have you ever met anyone? You're like, oh, that's so cool. How long y'all been dating? 13 years? Excuse me, what? There are laws against that. That's so not good that our government was no. You might call it whatever you want, but y'all are married. Look it up. Common law marriage. There's laws in certain states that if you guys are just dating, we're just friends for too long, they're you can say whatever you want, y'all are married, we're taxing you as married. If you're not gonna commit to the marriage, we're gonna commit to it for you, y'all are married, right? And so it should be a vehicle that takes us to this. And the reason I say that like this, again, going back to I didn't have to have this long extended process because I already recognized Amanda. By the time I asked her out, I was already pretty sure she was the one. And you're like, oh, that's so romantic. I was a grown man getting ready to have a degree, almost having a grown man job, okay? Knowing what I was gonna do with my life, ready to invite her into my journey, okay, with plans. And so when I finally asked her out, I was like, I think this could go somewhere. And so dating for us, it was romantic, but a lot of it was this interviewing type of, it was this intentional dating. It was what are your dreams? What are your visions? What do you want to do with your life? Where do you see yourself? What kind of family do you want? What do you want? What are your financial expectations? Because I want to be a youth pastor. That bar is low, okay? We had to talk through all this stuff. And that was a vehicle to say, yeah, man, this is all lining up. And the engagement was just enough time to plan the wedding, okay? That was it. And if you've heard our story, we took too long in engagement, and I'm not gonna go into that, but future self, engagement is long enough to plan a wedding and not a day longer, okay? Not a day longer. Trust me, all the married people love that one, right? You're I know what you're talking about. Amen, amen. All right, so back, where was I? Right. Not a destination, it should be transportation. I would say it like this, right? Say you go to Atlanta, you fly on a plane, you go place for a vacation, you come back to the Atlanta airport, you're gonna go on something called a tram, right? Is the tram your destination or your transportation? Y'all are smart people. How do you know that it's not your destination? You're because I'm not homeless, I live in a home, right? That's good too. But what about the tram do you think tells you that it's not designed to be permanent, right? The reason you know that a tram isn't meant to be long-term is because there's very few seats, right? If you've ever been on the tram, there's not seats ever. It's not a bus, it's not a train, it's not a plane. There's not all these seats and services coming by to give you snacks and refreshments. Do you need a pillow, sir? Do you need a blanket? Do you want to get comfortable right where you're at? No, they literally give you things to hold on to get from A to B as fast as possible, right? That's what it's for. It's not meant to stay there. And that's how we should be approaching dating. And here's what I mean by that. You can enter into a dating relationship and you see very early on, they're not going where your destination is. Cool, this is my stop, thank you very much. I'm gonna get off the tram, I'm gonna start over and I'm gonna try again. No harm, no foul, because it was a destination. And you can date in a God-honoring way that says that's okay. We're gonna move on. It wasn't you, it wasn't me, it wasn't gonna work. That's fine, let's move on. The problem is we tend to just cycle through and through. Okay, I would also say this, dating is an event. A date is an event. It's not a destination. It's a one singular event. We don't ever go on dates. By and large, as Americans, we don't go on dates. In fact, we don't even really using that term dating. We have kind of these other terms for it. And so kind of how I would say it like this is getting into dating myth number 4 is that dating is harmless. I think I put is a harmless. Nope, I didn't, only on my notes. Dating is harmless. Dating is not harmless. Dating can be devastating, okay? So let me kind of say that. A second ago, I said it's a tram, it's a destination, it's supposed to get you towards marriage. If it's not working out, hop off the tram, do a lap, and get back on the tram and just try again. Like, no harm, no foul. It's not the destination. You're just supposed to cycle through. However, a tram is also not a roller coaster, right? A roller coaster is a temporary journey that's meant to be super fun, right? And some of us go into dating like that. They're hot, let's date. Heartbreak, oh, that sucks. They're hot, let's date. That sucked, that didn't work either. They're hot, let's date. And we just do this over and over and over because it's so fun to get in the love bubble, but we don't ever think where is this going? Where am I trying to take this? And so that's when I said, we don't even like those words, dating, right? What do we call it? We substitute that whole concept of dating. No, we're not dating. We're just, right? No. We're not a thing. We're not a thing. We're just friends. Right? And once you're just friends, what kind of friends are you? We're friends with, right? Think about how low that bar has gotten. As a culture, not us, we all got this, right? The world out there is so jacked up that we're friends with benefits. Tell me how beneficial the heartbreak is. How beneficial was that working out for you? How beneficial is it going to be when you finally do meet the one, and then you have to have that talk, right? I've heard this kind of the analogy of imagine on your wedding day, husband is the groom's waiting there at the end of at the altar. Wife walks down, or the bride walks down, and you see a normal scenario. You see guys by the groom. You see ladies by the bride, and you're like, oh, that's a normal wedding. Groomsmen, bridesmaids, all that kind of cool stuff. But it's not groomsmen, it's not bridesmaids. It's on her side is all the future almost brides, but not really close because I wasn't even thinking like that. And they're all right there too. And behind the dude is he's the future somebody, but I don't even remember his name and all that stuff and all the junk that comes with it, but they were just friends with benefits. We were just talking. I can't tell you how many we were just talking leads to babies. I don't know how that math adds up. Talking does not lead to babies. Just so you know, I'm not here to give you a health lesson, but talking does not equal babies, okay? Intentional dating that leads to engagement that leads to marriage leads to good babies, okay? And if not babies, lots of practicing babies, okay? That's a good thing, and we're gonna get to that in 2 weeks. But dating can be devastating to us, okay? But we don't, and here's kind of where rubber meets the road right now. What's we're just friends, it's just homecoming, right? It's just prom. It's just a party, what's the big deal? But let me just ask you that question. Maybe it's different since I'm old. I haven't been to high school in a long time. Maybe we've progressed as a society, and maybe there's no longer any pressures at all at homecoming or prom. Right? It's all just cool, right? Nothing bad happens homecoming night, right? Nothing on the dance floor that you wouldn't be proud of me seeing, right? If they're hey, Pastor Matt, we'd love for you to be a chaperone at homecoming this year. And you're cool, no problem. It's just like Capitol Wednesday nights. We're just having a good, clean party, right? Hey, why don't you host the after party, Pastor Matt? Cool, yeah, let's do that. Right? No pressure at all, right? Dating can be devastating. Dating can be devastating. Proverbs 14:12, as we start to kind of wrap things up, says this: there's a path before each person that seems right, but in the end, it leads to death. There's a path before all of us that seems right. So again, I'm not coming down hard on you. I don't mean to make fun of. We've had fun, but I'm not meaning to make fun when you think that's the one, because I get it, because God gave us emotions, and God gave us interests, and God gave us clues into the type of person that we're going to be attracted to, and all that kind of stuff. And there's going to be a time in your life where you're going to think that's the right path, but it's going to lead to death. And that's why it's so important. That's why I keep coming back to, man, I wish I could have just talked about everything before dating. But y'all don't want to hear that. You want to talk about dating, and that's fine. But that's why it's so important, because dating can be devastating. 2 more verses, then we'll wrap things up. And band, you guys can come on out whenever you're ready. Proverbs 4:23 says this: guard your heart above all else, because it determines the course of your life. Like that's a power verse right there. That's a strong verse. Guard your heart above all else because your heart determines the course of your life. You've seen it. If not, I guarantee you will. You'll get to be my age, you'll look back at your high school days, then you'll look at your friends now, and you'll see how many of them did not guard their hearts, and their lives have been destroyed, taking them down the wrong path. People my age, in their late 20s, early 30s, already on their second and third marriages, already having the holidays be a nightmare because the logistical planning just to get the kid to all the homes is overwhelming, right? Some of you are experiencing this. The reason why we're spending a whole month on this is because I want better for you guys. I want one marriage with good kids that are gonna serve the Lord and are gonna glorify God. Like, I want that for you guys. I want God to write your love story. I want you to be able to have the proudest wedding day. Like, I want that day to be the best celebration of the goodness of God in your life. Like, I really do want that for every single one of us. Here's the good news. Here's the hope, because I realize in a room like this, we're all over the place. Some of you, like, you're just not into that, not super interested in dating, and that's fine. Some of you guys have already made major mistakes. Some of you guys are right in the ones and you've been defiant the whole time. That person sitting next to you, you've just got your arm around them extra tight and you're like, nuh-uh. Let me tell you how that's gonna work out for you, okay? And everywhere in between. But the good news is this, Philippians 2:13-15, God is working in you. And we could just stop right there. God is working in you. Not you working on you. Because let's be honest, if it was up to my own human effort, I would be on the wrong course for my life. God is at work in you, giving you the desire and the power. That's super good news. Because your desires might naturally be pretty jacked up right now. Maybe you're following all the lusts of your heart, you're following culture, you're following society, you're following all the pressures, and your desires aren't by default, but God is giving you the desires and the power to do what pleases Him. So no excuses. If you ever say, like, I can't do this, what you're saying is, I'm putting limits on God. Because God is limitless. And it says right here, He's working in you. He gives you the desire and the power to do what pleases Him. And then the verse that all the parents love to use, do everything without complaining and arguing so that no one will criticize you. So God's working in you. He's giving you desire and power to do what pleases Him. So stop complaining. Like, stop fighting it, stop complaining about it, stop trying to be counter to what God's trying to do in you. Like, yield to that. He gives you the desire and the power so that no one else can criticize you. Again, because your life should glorify God. And here's how we should be dating. Live clean, innocent lives as children of God, shining like bright lights in a world full of crooked and perverse people. Especially in our love lives. We should be shining so bright. Come on, 50-50 on marriage within the church, give me a break. God's desire is so much more than that. As the world's going broken and crooked and losing everything they've got, we should be shining so bright before God. We should be shining so bright to this hurting world.